Bhagavan Shri Yogi Ramsuratkumar ki
Jai.
Sarvam Yogi Ramsuratkumar Arpanamastu. Once again, we have been given this divine opportunity, a divine gift of grace for singing the powerful mantra Yogi Ramsuratkumar, all purely by his grace. Let's celebrate this gift of grace from him. We shall share a certain incident by a devotee only to relive that experience and enjoy the flow of grace by remembering it. Our Bhagwan is often said that remembering God is the only purpose of life. And remembering God is living in God, and living in God is truly living. The times you forget God, you are more dead than alive. In Chennai Street House, and before that, even under Punai tree, many people from judiciary and police departments, the higher officials, used to come to Bhagwan for blessings. People who have had high principles in life, who adhered to the virtues of the profession. They sought help from him, oftentimes, especially so, more so, from the judiciary and the police. There were many justices who visited him from time to time, and there was a steady flow of grace from Bhagwan towards all of this. We all know how it culminated in choosing Justice Arunachalam as a spiritual successor. Justice Bhaktavatsalam was one of those high officials from judiciary. He received a photo of Bhagwan, Yogi Ramsuratkumar, from a friend whom he considered as his guru. He kept it in his puja room, and for 15 years he was unable to visit Bhagwan. Somehow it happened that though he had this photo of Bhagwan in his puja room, he could not visit Tiruvannamalai. But after 15 years, by a divine prompting, he came with a friend, with 3 other people actually. One of them had a problem, something like rheumatic arthritis. His hand was very much affected by that. So he came for some relief from Bhagwan. And there were 2 other friends who accompanied Justice Bhaktavatsalam And they were skepticals about Bhagwan's divinity. They came more out of curiosity than devotion. It was a curious combination, the four of them, when they landed at Sanadi Street House. At the time, the family of popular writer of Tamil Nadu had come, and they were all seated there in the veranda singing songs on Bhagwan very beautifully, very melodiously. Justice Bhaktavatsalam sent information, prayer information, and then he visited. Bhagwan received him with warmth, took him straight inside and closed the door. When the singing was going on outside, Swami made Justice Bhaktavatsalam sit in front of him inside the house, in the hall inside, and he kept blessing him. He looked at him penetratingly, and then he asked Justice, "What made you come here? How did you come?" And then Justice said, "Yes, I got your picture 15 years back and I have you in my puja room. I think of you, I worship you, but somehow it just didn't happen, my coming here." So Bhagwan blessed him nicely, and then before he left him, he asked, "What do you want from this beggar?" Justice said, "I don't want anything. I came just for your darshan." When Swami heard this reply from Justice Bhaktavatsalam, he went into uproarious laughter, cascading. He is inimitable, cascading laughter. "Oh, people have always something or the other to ask this beggar, and you have nothing at all to ask for? That's great." And then finally, Bhagwan said, "This beggar will be with you always. This beggar will protect you." With this promise, he left him. And then they came out. And the friend who had this rheumatic problem with the hand, he prostrated before Bhagwan. And then Bhagwan gave him a pat or two. When Bhagwan touched him on the back with a pat, that friend felt some electricity passing through him. A sudden shock. And after that, his pain in the hand left him forever. He did not feel the pain. He did not feel the pain of arthritis again. What a grace. But when the other two people who came with doubts, who were skeptical about Bhagwan's divinity, Bhagwan, with one sweep of his hand, with a stern look, he just made a gesture as if to drive them out, not to come near, go away. He would not allow them to come anywhere near him. The four of them left. Of course, Bhagwan came up to the door to see the justice off. And then on their way, justice visited the Rama temple in Madurantakam. It's a very famous, there's a beautiful story behind it. We wouldn't go into it because there's no time. But enough to say that Rama is a living force there, a very beautiful idol of Rama. And when he went inside to worship Rama, the pujari is there. This justice mentioned that he was just coming from Yogi Ramsuratkumar of Tirunnamalai. And the pujari said to him, "Oh, the Swami was here yesterday. Yesterday evening he was here, he worshipped, and then he left. Justice could not believe that because he knew that Bhagwan was in Tiruvannamalai. He did not know whether to believe it or not. And the Pujari also could not give him any more information because he did not know when he came and when he left, but he saw him. He saw him worshipping Sri Rama. A very curious thing to happen. So after they left, they reached Chennai. When Justice Bhaktavatsalam was in Tiruvannamalai with Bhagwan, his friend, an IAS, V.T. Durairaj, who was at the time the director of the Khadi board, he had visited Justice Bhaktavatsalam's house and found out that his friend had gone to Tiruvannamalai. Sri V.T. Durairaj was an ardent devotee of Bhagwan. What happened to him was even more interesting because the next day when Justice Bhaktavatsalam met him, V.T. Durairaj told him that in the beginning, at one time, he and his wife had a rift between them. His wife left him. He was in great agitation. And he came. He heard about Yogi Ramsuratkumar of Tiruvannamalai. So he came to Tiruvannamalai to see this Mahatma and take his blessings. But on the way near Tiruvannamalai, the railway gate, when his car had stopped there, he saw a beggar just moving between the two gates, and some children around were throwing stones at him. And some of those stones hit this beggar, who was at once a beggar and not a beggar also. He had a very strange appearance. Of course, Sri Durairaj did not know at the time that he was Yogi Ramsuratkumar himself. The God-man he came to see, to have darshana. He thought some beggar was going, and these people were throwing stones, these children, and there was blood coming out from places. And immediately he scolded those children, stopped them from throwing stones, and what was more, he took some money and gave it to him, gave it to our Swami, and said, "You see, you please buy some medicine and apply on those wounds." Swami took that money. Surprisingly, he took the money from him and smiled and said, because this devotee came to rescue. And Swami said, "You immediately leave for Chennai. You go back to Chennai. Your wife will join you in 15 days. And the way he said it, Sri Durairaj could not disobey him. So he left, and true to the word of Swami, his wife joined him in 15 days, and after that, there was no more such problems between the two of them. And later he came to know that this was the one he came to have darshana of, that was Yogi Ramsuratkumar. He became such an ardent devotee that he used to visit him very often, whenever he could, which was more often than not. For Swami, children throwing stones, getting hurt by stones, was not a new experience. Once, when Swami, our Bhagwan, Yogi Ramsuratkumar, with his simple possessions, nothing more than a country hand fan and a coconut shell, and some newspapers. He was moving towards the old bus stand. He had no place to stay in those days. He was wandering. There were some haunts he used to visit at specific times of the day. He was now moving towards a peepal tree near the old bus stand, but on the way, he was suddenly surrounded by 4 thugs. We do not know what triggers these evil people to react the way they do to Mahatmas. We see it happening in the lives of great, great masters. The same thing happened to Bhagwan also. They started to beat him. They snatched the coconut shell, the hand fan, threw them away. The newspapers also got scattered around, and they started to beat him violently. So terrible. He went to a defenseless Bhagwan who had all the power. One look from Bhagwan would have burnt them alive. But he just put up with those beatings, got very much hurt. The blood was oozing here and there. When Bhagwan described this event to me several years after, he said when he was being beaten up by these people so mercilessly, ruthlessly, there was a crowd of 20 people. 20 people had collected and they were watching as though they were watching a show. And none of them came forward to help him. And some of them he recognized as those people who had come to him for blessings, benefited. But none of them came forward. So when he narrated several years after, he said, Devaki, this is the world. Do not trust anybody in this world. So Swami was beaten up, and somehow this Perumal who used to be there in the mandap, the chariot mandap, he came to know another attendant who used to be with Bhagwan carrying his the sack bags. The two of them came running when they knew that their master was being beaten up and he was defenseless. They came running. The 4 thugs who were the misguided people who were beating Bhagwan, as soon as they saw these 2 attendants running towards them, they ran away also. They took to their heels. They ran away. This Perumal said, Swami, let us go after them. We will go after them and give them nicely so that they won't touch you ever again. Then we know what Bhagwan said to them? No, Perumal. They have done their work. We have to do Father's work. What a statement. This we have to remember all the time. This is Bhagwan. This is Yogi Ramsuratkumar. They have done their work. They have come only for that, to beat this beggar up. And they have done their work. We have Father's work to do. We will do our work, Father's work. This is the difference between the ordinary lot. This is the difference between Bhagwan and us. Even if we may not retaliate, but we would entertain violent thoughts towards people who harm us. But this is a revelation. This is the revelation. Each one comes into this world to do what they are meant to do. With a set of vasanas they could not help. And they do exactly, they play exactly that role, and they go away. Now that Bhagavan is here, right in front of us. he was able to bless. I had seen him bless people who came to harm him or who harmed him in some way or the other. Repeatedly I had seen it in Sannadhi Street House. Now that Bhagwan, who could not only forgive those people who harmed him, but gave them blessings for their own benefit. He is here right in front of us, with the same hand raised in benediction. That's a steady flow of grace from his hand upon all those who seek solace and succor. To this Bhagwan we shall offer our prayers